We're getting some breaking news that's just coming in right now. We understand from our investigative team that federal prosecutors have just filed a new criminal case against Hunter Biden, the son of President Joe Biden. I want to bring in NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delaney. And Ken, I know we are just getting this information. Walk us through what we know and what we don't know, and I have some questions lined up for other developments that have happened today as well.
Yeah, Tom, here's what we do know. A new criminal case has been filed by Special Counsel David Weiss in Los Angeles against Hunter Biden. One source tells us that these are tax-related charges. That would track with what we've been expecting for a long time. Remember that Hunter Biden had a plea agreement that called for no jail time, where he was going to plead guilty to misdemeanor tax charges of failure to file a tax return. And that fell apart, and that was in Delaware. But David Weiss, the special counsel, had to bring any tax case in the place where the tax return would have been filed, and one of those places was Los Angeles. So it would make sense that these new charges are tax charges. A big question, obviously, would be, are these just the charges, the misdemeanor charges that were part of the plea agreement that fell apart, or are there any additional related charges in this new case? We don't know the answer because these charges have not yet been made public. They're not on the computerized court system. But again, sources are telling us that this case has been brought, Tom.
So, Ken, you know, when that deal fell apart, it was obviously big news because everyone thought they had reached an agreement. Clearly, they had not. And now we're here, and it's been months since then. It would stand to reason that in that time, the special prosecutor has continued his investigation?
Certainly, although a lot of the investigative aspects and avenues that were followed had been done by the FBI, had been finished as long as a year or more ago in this case. But, you know, they always continue to investigate. But in terms of the bringing Hunter Biden's business dealings and tax issues through a fine-tooth comb, that, from what we know, that had already been done. And they had the case that they wanted to bring. They had a plea agreement. Remember that it fell apart over the question, though, of whether Hunter Biden would be immune from any future charges. And Special Counsel David Weiss wasn't prepared to grant him that, and said that, in fact, they were continuing to investigate the question of whether he violated foreign lobbying registration laws in his representation of foreign business people. And so that's why the plea deal fell apart. And so he's facing a felony gun charge that he lied on a form, bought a gun when he was addicted to drugs illegally. And now this separate case in Los Angeles that one source tells us is tax related, Tom.
And Ken, you know, a major thing happened. It occurred with the legal strategy, right? With Hunter Biden's legal team. He had sort of been staying quiet, if you will. Every now and then he would do an interview, but he was sort of staying out of the limelight. Since the deal fell apart, he's written an op-ed, and his legal team has gone on the offensive, right? Trying to demand that the special counsel subpoena both President Trump and the former Attorney General Barr, correct?
Yeah, that's the most recent battle, and just yesterday, the special counsel filed a response to that, saying that, in fact, that should not happen, because Hunter Biden's team argued that the whole case resulted from a malicious prosecution orchestrated by former President Trump and former Attorney General Bill Barr. And it is true that the investigation began during the Trump administration, but Special Counsel Weiss, in a filing, said that the bulk of it happened during the Biden administration, in fact, and that it was Attorney General Merrick Garland, appointed by President Biden, who named Weiss as special counsel and made sure the investigation was independent and continued. So they said that those subpoenas shouldn't happen. But you're absolutely right. It's part of a larger sort of get tough strategy by Hunter Biden. He's filing defamation suits against some of the people that have made accusations against him. He's going on offense in all sorts of ways. Abby Lowell, one of his attorneys, is known for that type of strategy. He's known as a pit bull litigator, particularly in tax cases. And so that has been their strategy right now. The stakes are high because, again, that felony gun charge carries significant prison time.
Yeah, and then, Ken, I guess my other question is, if you can kind of walk us back to the original charges before that deal fell apart and the timeline. I ask because we're entering an election year next year. How is this going to affect the president, and how long do we think this process will play out for Hunter Biden?
Well, in terms of the trial calendar, you know, there is no trial date set in that gun charge, but it's widely expected that it would take place next year in the middle of the election campaign. And then it's unclear with these new charges, if they're tax charges, when those could get to trial. But about a year is standard for a federal criminal trial. And so you could see that trial happening, if in fact it goes to trial, right in the heart of potentially in November, in the heart of the presidential contest.
Could they strike?
Yeah.
Could they strike a plea deal on these new charges as well, or has that ship sailed?
Most people we talk to about this think that there's always a chance to have a plea deal. It certainly appears to be in Hunter Biden's interest to get that deal back, where he was going to serve no jail time after all. And we know that there have been negotiations taking place behind the scenes, but they have not yet reached a deal. Sometimes both sides want to see all the cards, and so now that if in fact these tax charges have been filed, if Hunter Biden's team gets a chance to see them, maybe they'll have more of a chance to negotiate.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app, or follow us on social media.